Greetings, 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 everyone, and welcome to another podcast edition of Create Yourself, Imagery, Intimacy, and Medicine. Place where people from all walks of life and various backgrounds come together to share their transformative personal and professional stories of restoration, confidence, clarity, empowerment, education, and so much more. They are here to share their helpful tools, resources, and affirming guidance. I am Joyce Kyles, your global speaker, author, trainer, coach, and uh, I am just so excited as a coach, as a consultant, to bring this podcast to you. And if you are ready to transition, transform, and thrive, this is the podcast for you. If this happens to be your first time tuning in, welcome to the show. If you are someone who has returned to us, we are so happy to have you back. And as always, we say to invite a friend, to invite two more friends, and bring them into the room. We are always excited to have people come and join us and take part in all that our amazing guests share each and every week. If you have been with me for a while, you know I am always excited about my guests. My guests are chosen very strategically and intentionally because of what they do, how they show up, and all of the wonderful gems that they have to give us for business and in life. And as always, this week is no exception. I have had the opportunity to follow our guests for quite some time now. And we have some of the same friends, some of the same colleagues. We share some of the same work strategies. But what I love about her, and one of the reasons that I wanted to have her on the show, is because of her love of creating connection. If you follow her at all, you will see it show up that she is a champion in what she does, but even more so in creating that sense of community and making sure that people are seen, that they are heard, that their voices matter, and it shows up in her work, it shows up personally. So I just wanted to have her on the show and share her insights. So without further ado, let me present to some and introduce to others none other than Dr. Lydia Rosencrants, executive coach, educator, and community builder. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joyce. I'm so excited to be here.
I appreciate you making time for us today. So, I'm just going to jump right in.
All right.
Please tell our listening audience a bit about you. Now, of course, the bio is right underneath the podcast. So if you clicked on the podcast, you have to make sure you read the bio. But I would love for you to just tell us a bit about who you are and how you got started on this journey. So for the next few minutes, the floor is all yours.
Okay, great. Well, I was born in Virginia, Joyce, and had a pretty boring childhood. Just was raised in a small town, and I think that formed it definitely formed some things that are important to me. I'll probably talk a little bit about that in a second. Went off to college and then worked for a little bit. But at college, I realized that what I wanted to do was I wanted to be a professor. I really admired the professors that I had, and I had several of them encourage me and say, you would be good at this. And so I ended up going to graduate school at a fairly early age and got my PhD in accounting. And then I met my husband while I was in grad school. And so all before the age of 30, I finished and moved to Georgia, where I had the opportunity to not only be a professor, but I had an opportunity to actually start an accounting program at a small school there. And so when I said that, being raised in a small town and going to a small high school kind of formed me, it did. I've always had a love for smaller communities. And so I've only taught at two universities in my 27-year career of teaching, and both of them would be considered to be very small private schools. But anyway, so I had this opportunity to start an accounting program, which really appealed to me. And we ended up staying in that community for 21 years. In the meantime, I'll just briefly share just this as part of my personal life. In that time period, we adopted 11 children and had two biological children. So I have 13 children. Um, so that was quite a journey all on its own, as part of, doing the professional journey and then also the personal journey. And then had the opportunity to move to Memphis. My mom, her whole family is from Memphis, so I've been coming to Memphis since I was a baby, and she had moved back in the mid 90s. So Memphis had always been second home. And then I had an opportunity to come to my current university, which is Christian Brothers University. And so that just jumped at it. The being able to live in Memphis full time and make it home was really appealing to me. And my husband and I both, and he's from Michigan, which is where I went to grad school. We both said very early on, it felt like we had come home. And Memphis has felt that way ever since. So, so it's been a very interesting journey since I got here. And I've had an opportunity to do a lot of things that I really never could have imagined. I have continued in my academic career. So my main function, I'm still here at CBU. I'm a professor. I run our MBA program. And so that hasn't changed, but there's been an opportunity to do some things on top of that that I really never would have expected. So about 2 years ago, I started a program in professional and executive coaching at the University of Texas at Dallas. And so, like you, I'm an executive coach. I have my certification. And that was very unexpected and certainly seems probably very different than being a professor of accounting. But I've really enjoyed it, and it has allowed me to teach a class in the MBA program that is very much about the individual and the individual achieving their maximum impact in life. And so it's kind of fun to teach accounting during the day and teach that at night. And then recently, I added another piece on top of all of this. And I'm now the president of a new organization that just started called An Army of Normal Folks. And it's a podcast, started as a podcast by a Memphian, and has grown into 6 service clubs that have started around the country. And our goal is to reduce the barriers to service, so allow people to serve as they wish and give as they wish by just reducing some of the barriers that exist to doing that. And so, when I was thinking about that journey, I'm like, all of this sounds so disparate, right? It's like, okay, she's an academic and she teaches accounting, and she's a coach and she's got her own coaching business, and now she's president of this service club. How does all this fit together? But I think that, Joyce, you expressed it extremely well. Thank you for your very kind words. At my heart, I'm a community builder. And so it's less about where I build community and more about just the opportunity to build community. So it doesn't seem to matter where I land, I build community. So like my coaching business, most people start a coaching business with the idea of, I'm going to do one-on-one coaching, and I do that. But actually, the majority of what I do in my coaching business right now is I have a community for female solopreneurs that's free. And so I have over 80 women across North America now that have joined this. And it allows us to build our businesses in community rather than having to build them in isolation, which can be very difficult. And so the same with An Army of Normal Folks. It's really just about building a community of people here in Memphis who want to get more involved in their community, who want to get to know their neighbors, who want to make a difference. And so I would say that, what I've figured out in this, I don't know, let's say 30 years or so of professional life, is that the number one gift that God has given me is this ability to help people feel like they belong, to help them feel like they're part of something bigger, to help them know that He has a purpose and a plan for their lives, and just to build community and I don't think I've ever built a community, at least I hope not, Joyce, where anybody was not welcome. When I build a community, it is, if the table's not big enough, then let's just make the table bigger and pull up a chair. And so that's always been my goal. That's how God's table works. And so that's how I want my table to work too.
Wow, just amazing. Absolutely amazing. You have such a beautiful, eclectic journey that I love it. I love it. I think it really helps to that you share those different pieces and how, even though, like you said, it may seem like you're kind of out, in different pockets, but they actually do come together. That's whenever you have been given a vision to do things, I truly believe that the provision will be made and that the impact will happen and go forth. And so you're doing that in ways that is allowing you to show up personally and professionally the ways that you need to, the ways that you've been purposely assigned to is what it sounds like. And I love this is audio, but I can see you and I love that you have on your seal, your window seal, a plaque that says stay humble, work hard, be kind.
Yeah.
And when I introduced you, I truly meant what I said, that was one of the biggest reasons I knew I wanted you to be on the show is that every time I see you share, as I primarily on LinkedIn, and whenever I see you share things, wherever I see you showing up, that is truly the energy that you give. And I don't think, I don't have to be around you to know that that is genuinely who you are. And I think that is a blessing. That is a beautiful gift to have. So I'm glad that you operate and walk in that.
Hmm. I appreciate that.
You have 11 adopted children, two biological children. So I want to touch on that for just a moment because so many of the folks that listen are trying to multitask
Mm.
and balance, as the word is balance. I always say harmony. I'm really big on what work-life harmony looks like and how to make that work. So for those who have children, and you have several, because there are some who have. So how are you finding the ways to be able to find harmony in your work and with your family and a husband? Because we don't want to leave our beautiful husbands out. I know I absolutely adore mine, and I know you do with
Yes, not
yours.
at all. Not at all.
So
Well,
how do you balance? How do you manage to find harmony in all that?
I'm certainly blessed in the husband that God provided for me. He had his own professional plans, and then when God called us to adopt, he's been a stay-at-home dad ever since 2001. So, obviously, with that many kids, both of us working, I don't know how we would make that work. And so, my hat's off to any family where both parents are working. So, we're very blessed to have him at home. We have a lot of special needs kids, and so it's just really with all the doctors and schools and everything, it's just that's the only way we know how to make it work. And so yes, that has required some financial sacrifice, but I think about the end, wherever that may be, and I'm not gonna remember, oh, I didn't get to buy that car, or I didn't, whatever. It's not gonna matter. It's gonna matter the people whose lives were impacted by mine, and that impacted me. That's all that's really gonna matter. Um, so yeah, how do I, it's making it work. I think it is a day to day, when we pray the Lord's Prayer and we talk about give us this day our daily bread, having this many kids and this many roles that I play has really taught me that I can't live too far into the future. Um, but I would also say that I probably am a fairly organized person. And God seems to have blessed me with a good memory, where I'll just kind of remember, hey, so and so has school fees due today. I need to get that done. Or hey, I need to contact this person for my business. Or hey, it's this time of year at CBU. I need to get this done. Right. I mean, he doesn't call us and then not equip us. And so I'm just going to give him all the glory on that one, that he has given me what I need to balance each of those things. And there are times that some have to take precedence over others, right? And I'll tell you where I'll be really honest about one of my biggest struggles, Joyce, is I'm a perfectionist when it comes to myself. I'm one of those people that will give you grace all day long, and I don't seem to be able to give myself very much of it. And so I think that all of those things need to be done and done with excellence, right? And sometimes it just can't all be done perfectly. Sometimes it just has to be good enough. And I still, after all these years, I still struggle with that one. So if you're a woman out there or man who struggles with this idea that everything you do has to be done at the level 10, I will say that is soul crushing. That is just soul crushing. And it's not from God. It's not how he designed us. I believe that he wants us to give ourselves the grace that we give others. And so I'm a work in process when it comes to that. I'm still learning how to do that.
You know what? I appreciate, and I know the listeners do too, appreciate the honesty in that. One of the things that I really enjoy about hosting this show is that it's an opportunity for people to share, transparently, candidly, share vulnerability, share the real struggles that we have, and not just always the successes, that everything doesn't just come out perfectly, and not every day and all the time. And I love that you mentioned day to day. And I think that is so important that we focus on, okay, there's good to have organization and a plan, but let today be today and that tomorrow be tomorrow. And we plan and we do the best that we can with it and be as organized as possible. But and sometimes, you mentioned that about, prioritizing things. Sometimes the priority of the day has to shift,
Mhm.
because something else takes more of a priority, and being okay and giving ourselves grace to say, you know what, I'll deal with that in a few minutes, a few hours, a few days, a few weeks, a few months. Maybe that's a next year project,
Yeah,
whatever that
exactly.
looks like. But whatever it is, that we're okay with it because we're operating in the spirit of excellence and purpose that we have been given. And I think that is so key. So, however you believe in terms of your faith, I always encourage people to just remain rooted and grounded foundationally in that. And when you walk in that purpose and that plan, then even in the chaos, there's still joy in the journey.
Right. That's right.
So with that, I want to shift gears just a bit to talk about your work, your programs.
Mhm.
One of the things that I'm very intrigued about was the fact that you started the program, an accounting program, but you've also started a program, a coaching program in Dallas. So I know that there are people who are listening and want to know, how did you do that?
Yes, yes, yes. So I have a, I just have a wide variety of interests. I am a naturally curious person. Honestly, I wish I could go back to school and do something else. I really would if I could. I really can't at the moment. Um, but I would love to be I mean, I want to be a lifelong learner, regardless of whether it's formally in school or not. And I hope it was 25 years between my PhD program in accounting and going back to get my coaching certification. So I hope that I was still learning in those 25 years, even though it wasn't formally. Um, but I'm interested in a lot of different things. Like I very much wish I could pursue the coaching. I would love to get like a master's in neuroscience or something. I'm kind of a neuroscience geek, and my coaching is kind of where I learned about a lot of that. Um, and so I would say, don't put it on yourself that every educational opportunity has to be formal. Um, I did some courses on Coursera. I've used LinkedIn Learning. Um, there's all sorts of ways to increase your knowledge without it. And I probably shouldn't say this as an MBA director, right? I want people to join our MBA program. And I do think a formal degree program can be phenomenal if you have the time and you can afford it, right? But even if you can't, even if you're in a space of your life where it's just not possible to add one more thing, I think there are all sorts of opportunities to be a lifelong learner. And so I would strongly encourage people to continue that and not feel that it has to meet some criteria. Do a LinkedIn, do a LinkedIn learning every once in a while. Set a goal once a week. I'm going to do a LinkedIn learning that just interests me, that I want to learn about this particular area. I don't know anything about it. And I want to learn. And, the brain will respond. It needs to be constantly growing and feeding on new things, right? It's so good for it. And we often get stuck in this idea that I don't want to be a beginner anymore. I'm in my 50s. I want to think that I've mastered what I need to master and I'm just going to keep going. Well, the truth is that it's so good for us to continue to be a beginner, no matter how old we are. I'm hoping if I'm still alive when I'm 80, I hope that I will not be afraid to start something new at the age of 80. I want to be a beginner as much as possible. And I encourage my clients in that as well. Don't be afraid to start something new.
That's the whole point of Create Yourself. That's the whole point of this podcast, is to create a life that you desire and deserve and recognize that it can be done at any age. It's actually how I end the podcast. And so with you sharing that, I just want to piggyback to say, no matter where you are, no matter what circumstances that you may be in, there's always a way to reach out and do some learning and connecting and be in community. And I think a part of that is being vulnerable and honest to say that, I want to try something else. I want to do something else, or I'm in the middle of something and I'm really stuck and I could use some help and some support, and show up in spaces like LinkedIn and, check out your local organizations that may be doing what it is that you are either involved in or what you want to be involved in. And, just walk up, introduce yourself. And this space that we're in now with technology and being able to Zoom and show up online in different ways. So we don't necessarily have to always be in physical community, though I love the in-person experiences. I
Me
absolutely
too.
do. But if you can't do that, like you said, just continue to always be learning, always be wanting to learn more, to give, to share. And I do believe in reciprocity, So one of the things that you lifted up was, yeah, maybe in some ways the finances might not always be what you want, in terms of, okay, well, if I've done something else, maybe it'd be something else. I don't have any remorse, no regrets, none of that. We're just walking in purpose. And so when you're doing that, the opportunities come, the finances come, you will not want in the ways that you think that
That's
you
right.
do when you surrender. And I know that's another conversation for another
Yeah,
time.
no, God's economy is something we could spend all day on. It doesn't add up, Joyce. It never
No.
adds up, right? It never, I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like, well, fish multiply in God's economy and burdens shrink, right? And
Mhm.
so, um, it's just different. And sometimes you just kind of have to just accept that his ways are not our ways.
Yes, and yet all tends to come together and work out for the good. And
That's
and I'm
right.
so thankful for that.
Me
Uh,
too.
so as we start to, kind of wind down the podcast, I do want to talk about what you are working on right now with your business. If, you're looking for new clients, those types of things, and to talk about A&F a bit, because you said that's your newest, and now it's morphed into 6 service clubs, one of which I believe is now in Atlanta, which is where
That's
I
right.
am.
Atlanta has one as well. That is correct. Yes. Yes. I'd love to talk about all of that. So, business wise, yes, of course. If there are folks who are looking for a coach, I would say that the clients that I have worked with the most have been women who are moving from this idea that my performance is where my identity comes from, moving more into where does that it's more inside, that it's finding that identity in who I am rather than what I do. But I help all sorts of folks, with career transitions, any sort of life transition. That's a lot of people seek coaching when they're in a transition phase, or like you said, when they're feeling stuck. And they're just not sure how to get out of what they're in. A coach can be a great kind of lever, I guess you could say, to wedge you out of that position. So I'm always open to that. I would say, if there's anyone out there, any female solopreneurs out there who would just enjoy being part of a community, like I said, there's no cost to join it. It's called the Selah Collective. And we meet once a month. We actually meet this coming Friday. Well, I'm not sure when you're going to release this. So we meet on the last Friday of the month. And we talk about something related to our business, whether it's how to, attract and retain clients, or maybe it's marketing and social media, or how do I get more speaking engagements, or how do I set goals? I mean, there's a lot of different things that we've done. And then we just support each other in thinking about those things. So it's not networking. I mean, there is some networking to it. It's really much more purposeful than that, about getting your business moving forward. And then on the Army of Normal Folks front, yes, Atlanta is one of the 6 cities. I love the fact that it's like Atlanta's, this huge city. And then another one of the clubs is in this little teeny county in New York. So it's this variety of, any community can have this community of service. And so basically, it's if you're in Memphis or in let's see, Wichita, Atlanta, just north of Milwaukee, in Ozaki, Oxford, Mississippi, and again, this little place that's called, I think it's North Dutchess in New York. But hopefully there'll be more of them soon. And the idea is that you can join, and there's nothing that you have to do to join. There's no forms, there's no initiation fee, there's no nothing. Come when you want and do what you can is the idea. And so we have a few things to lower those barriers of service. One is Army activations, which are just pre-planned service events where we do all the work and you just get to come and serve. And then you get to go home. And so it's like, hey, I get to come, I get to be part of this community, I get to make a difference, I get to meet my neighbors, but I don't have to try to sort through 12,000 nonprofits to do it. And then on the same, if you were looking for something a little more personalized, we also help you find opportunities that fit your passions and abilities. We call that our service concierge. And then the last piece of what we're starting currently is called the Giving Circle. And it's the idea that everybody can and should be a philanthropist. And so if you feel like what you can give doesn't really make a dent in anything, we have this way of we're combining. So for $10 a month up to $25,000, if you have that to give, nobody knows how much you're giving. So for $10 a month, you can join the Giving Circle, and we're going to vote on where that money goes. And so together we can make impactful gifts. So whereas I might only have $10 a month, when I see us together give a $5,000 gift, or hopefully eventually $100,000 gift, I'm like, wow, my little gift has blossomed into this gift that is going to impact something. And so no matter how much you give, you get one vote towards where the money goes. So everybody can be a philanthropist. So I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to redefine civic engagement for the 21st century. So I'm really, really honored that God has just, he put me in this position and is allowing me to be a part of this.
That is just outstanding, all of it. It is great work. That is what servant leadership looks like. and giving and having social impact. So I'm just so excited about it. I will be checking it out very soon for
Oh,
myself.
good.
And I will be sharing, of course, all your information with others. It's just great work you're doing all the things that it sounds like you are walking in your purpose, and that's just amazing. I love to connect with people who are doing that and doing it from the heart and with intention and sincerity and genuineness. That it's just beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing all that you have. My last question to you would be to share with our listening audience. You've already shared so many great gems, so let me just start there. So much great information. um, if you have any last words, any words of encouragement, any thoughts to help us close out as we often share on here, just those nuggets. So the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Joyce. I would just say, the thing that we have to guard against is comparing our journey to somebody else's journey, right? And um, God has a journey for each one of us, and it is going to look different. And we may not always understand it nor like it. And we may wish that our journey looked more like somebody else's, to tell the truth. But there is a purpose and a plan for your unique journey. And, um, it's so easy to say, well, this person got promoted at 25 and I still haven't got promoted and I'm 30, or this person is driving this wonderful car, living in this huge house, and I'm not. And so it's so easy to compare. Um, but I would say true joy comes when we live our own journey and walk our own journey and let that be enough and let that be good, and stop comparing it to where everybody else is, because the truth is you don't know. One, you don't know what's going on in their head, and it would shock you, right? But we knew most of the time you don't know what they're saying to themselves, and it's usually is just as negative as what you're saying to yourself. Number two, you don't know what they sacrificed to get that, right? And it may not be something that you were willing to sacrifice, right? So there's a difference there. Um, so I think that comparison really is the thief of joy. And I want joy above all the other stuff, the promotions and the cars and the accolades or whatever. I'd rather have the joy. And so I say, walk your own journey. Just know that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You are okay where you are. Always, 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 like I said, keep learning and certainly keep striving, but have some grace for yourself. Have some grace for yourself, and just find joy on the way.
Perfect words to live by in business and in life. Thank you so much, Dr. Rosencrants, for being our special guest today. You have truly, truly, truly been such a gift and a gem, personally and professionally. So thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Joyce. I really appreciate the invitation.
Thank you for accepting. And with that, we are bringing our podcast to a close. And please know that this podcast will be aired this week. So, those of you who may be interested in joining the Selah community for solopreneurs, women solopreneurs, they're meeting this Friday. So, all of the contact information is available underneath this podcast link. I do want to quickly, though, ask you if there are ways that you prefer over others in terms of best ways to connect with you.
Oh gosh, anything's fine.
Okay,
Drop a
okay.
carrier pigeon if that's what you want to do. It's fine with me. But I'm sure you'll have my Mantle Coaching website. That's a great way. My LinkedIn, I'm on there all the time, so you can drop me a DM or just comment on something. But yeah, no, anything is fine.
Okay, so you heard it directly from her. all the ways that you have to communicate, connect. You will be able to connect with her. And I can tell you she's very personable. So you don't have to be concerned with, I need to say it this way or
No,
present it a certain way. That is not who she is, as you can tell from
not
the
at all.
podcast today. She is so, so down to earth and so genuine in spirit. So you just can't help it. You have an infectious type of spirit. So,
Oh, thank you, Joyce. I
oh,
appreciate that.
of course, of course. So thank you again for being our guest. And to my listeners, thank you, thank you, thank you, because without you, I could not do what I do. So as we close out the podcast, I will share what I always do, which is to encourage you to go forward and create the life that you desire and deserve. And remember that you can do so at any age. I'm Joyce Kyles, your speaker, author, trainer, and coach. Wishing you well today as you go through your journey. Let us continue to transition, transform, and thrive together.